Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys making some time out of your day to spend with me and watch the video. Always never ever take that for granted, so really appreciate you guys being around today. Guys, got a bunch of frog fishing tips for y'all today. I'm going to show you guys how to modify a frog to actually allow you to hook more bass that bite it, and get some tips and advice on where to fish a frog, specifically in the summer. You know, August and September are really good frog months. They're pretty a versatile lure. A lot of people don't realize how versatile they are, so we're going to give you a little tutorial on it in today's video. Also, guys, just a quick invitation out there. If you guys haven't had a chance to please consider subscribing here to the Fishing Teacher. Right now, we're working hard to hit that 15 and 20,000 subscriber mark. I think we got 14,000 now, so it's a good way to support the channel there if you'd like to hit that subscribe button and the notification button. Really appreciate it. Okay guys, frogs, man, we've talked about them on and off on the channel, and they're such a good lure for the summertime because there's a percentage of the bass in the summertime that live super shallow, and they are really susceptible to frogs in a lot of different type of cover. I mean, frogs work anywhere you have shallow bass. It's like they're associated with fishing around matted vegetation, which that they are excellent around matted vegetation, lily pads, you know, any type of watered, splatter dockets and all that type of deal. But they're also good fishing them in open water around any type of wood targets, rock targets, docks, anything that you can, catch a bass around. You can catch them on a frog. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about how I modify a frog to actually to hook more fish, and then we'll talk about specific ways to work it and type of areas to fish it in. Okay, guys. First of all, when you're modifying a frog here, this is the stock Megabass Big Gabot, guys. This is my favorite frog. I'll put this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video, and if you guys would like to pick up some big gabots or any other frogs, I'll link them in the description there. But this is the way most of them come from the factory. It doesn't matter what brand they are. They all come with a fairly long uniform skirt. Hooks are usually flush against the top of the body there. And they'll catch fish like that, but there's some things you can do to make it better. First thing that I want to do is I want to cut off half the length of this skirt here. And you don't want to just come in with your scissors straight across. You want to put your scissors at an angle like that. So that way, you've got some type of an angle to the cut. It just makes it look a little bit more natural. So come through like that. And like I said, see how it sort of flares out a little bit. If you cut them straight across, it's just too uniform. Just looks a lot better like that. And again, I usually go about halfway back. Now what this does is it gives the frog better action, number one, because when you are working this frog like this, like you work it like a zero spook, the extra length of the skirt back there sometimes can deter the action a little bit. It makes a big difference on how wide it walks. And then also it gets the fish closer to the hook. They can't hit that longer skirt behind it. The next thing I do sometimes is I'll take and I'll pull the plastic on the frog. I'll go through it and I'll like stretch it like that, and that sort of softens it up a little bit, makes the hook penetration a little easier. And then finally I get my pliers and I'm gonna bend the hooks out just a little bit. Now, if I'm fishing over vegetation, like really thick mats, I leave it like this because if you bend them out on mats, you're gonna get grass all over it. But if you're fishing the frog around wood or any type of open water, which is my favorite way to fish it, I usually take it and I'm gonna bend those hooks out just about 1/8 of an inch or so. Just gonna open them up just a little bit. And see how just that hook is just a little bit above there now. It's just barely above it compared to being like super tight flush against it like that. And sometimes, well, you can see the difference there is how high they are. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but anyway, try to open it up like maybe 1/8 of an inch higher. And what this does, it'll get that point away from that plastic, and you just hook a lot more fish with it. So that's the way that I modify most of my frogs. Now, second, let's get into the colors a little bit before we get into the type of areas to work them in. I got pretty basic color selection on my frogs. My favorite is probably a black frog. Black is really good in a lot of different variations. It works good on cloudy days, rainy days, bright sunny days. Usually when I'm using a black frog, I'm using it around a little cleaner water. It's like when I talk about clean water for frog fishing, I'm talking about any water visibility of over about 15 inches. over 15-inch visibility, I catch a lot of fish on a black frog. Another good place for a black frog is on sunny days. If you had some shade, like from an overhanging tree, they really like a black frog if you throw it in that shade pocket on an otherwise bright day. Now, if it's a cloudy day, say cloudy and a dark day and the water's pretty dirty, that's when I go to a white frog. White frog stands out real good. If I got water visibility around that foot, right around a foot visibility, and especially if I have those really dark days, like maybe it's early in the morning and the sun's not quite up very far yet, or it's cloudy and it's rainy, get a lot of bites on a white frog. If it's cleaner water, like the water visibility is like 3 foot or so, you can still catch them on a frog. And that's when I go to some type of a translucent color. Megabass makes a lot of different colors in their big gabot. This is sort of a translucent shad looking pattern. And you'll find out in those brighter days, especially if the sun's out, fishing's a little bit tougher, some type of a translucent will work good. And then finally, a good all-around color is any type of a frog pattern. Just the old frog pattern frog works really good in a wide range of situations. Okay, so that's the basics on that. You want to work it also, guys. When you're working a frog, you want to twitch it just like you're fishing a zero spook. You just make short twitches of the rod tip. You want to get that frog sort of just twitching back and forth. If you're fishing over type of mats, obviously you don't have to do that. But for the most part, if you're fishing more open water, you're just working it like a spook. So here's the main things you want to look for as far as the areas on frogs, which is really, some of the most important part of it. If you're fishing matted vegetation with a frog, you need to look for those areas in the mats where you have a little bit of openings in there. You don't want some type of mat that is just completely covered solid unless the vegetation happens to be extremely thin. Like you may have some of those, like in Florida, they got a lot of different type of vegetation. They got some little things that look like mini lily pads like that are real paper thin. And yeah, the fish will come through a solid mat on those. But most of the time, if you're fishing like around lily pads or matted milfoil or matted hydrilla, try to target those areas where you have some openings that are maybe as big as a coffee can lid or maybe as big as a pie plate. That's going to really be good. You're not going to catch many fish on those type of areas if it's really thick, heavy mats on there. Sometimes they'll try to hit it and they'll try to hump up on it and not get it. But other times of the year, you just need those openings. But my favorite ways to fish a frog, guys, is, I'm looking for some type of a shade pocket. Shade underneath a dock, shade from an overhanging tree, shade that's getting thrown off from a, lay down log. Concentrate around shade in the summertime of the year. That's where you're going to catch all your frog fish. And never hesitate to throw that bait super, super shallow. I'm talking about throw the frog maybe even on the bank sometimes and pull it off into the water, almost like a frog's jumping off into the water. That makes a big difference. Don't throw your frog like 2 or 3 feet from the bank. Try to hit that bank with it and pull it off into the water. So anyway, guys, just a few quick frog fishing tips. Really good this time of year, and we'll talk later.